Everyone knows Al Bundy as the legendary shoe salesman who scored 4 touchdowns in a single game. But for Ed O'Neill, one specific decision during the filming of A Married with Children became a haunting regret that almost cost him his entire career. And it's not what you think. Al Bundy was the ultimate anti-hero of television. He was bitter, cynical, and openly hostile to his family and his neighbors, yet audiences absolutely loved him. He was the working-class patriarch who said everything we were too afraid to say out loud. But the man playing him, Ed O'Neill, was a classically trained actor, a thoughtful professional who suddenly found himself thrust into the white-hot center of global superstardom. What viewers never saw, however, was the intense psychological pressure cooker brewing just out of frame. The reality of leading a massive network sitcom comes with invisible burdens, power struggles, and impossible choices. For Ed, the line between playing a stubborn, selfish character and making a fundamentally selfish professional decision began to blur in a way that would permanently fracture his real-life relationships. To understand the magnitude of this mistake, you have to understand the absolute brutal reality of the television landscape in the late 1980s. Today, we are completely spoiled by the fragmentation of streaming platforms, where a hit show might reach a few million niche viewers. But back then, there were only a handful of networks, and Fox was the reckless new kid on the block fighting for its life. A Married with Children was their flagship weapon. It was crass, it was chaotic, and it fundamentally disrupted the wholesome, sterilized family sitcom formula established by The Cosby Show. Because the show was constantly under attack from boycotts and conservative watchdog groups, the cast developed a bunker mentality. In the early days, they were an incredibly tight-knit family. They had to be. It was them against the world. Ed O'Neill, Katie Sagal, Christina Applegate, David Faustino, Amanda Bearse, and David Garrison were in the trenches together, fighting for comedic survival. But as the show transitioned from a controversial experiment into a cultural juggernaut, the stakes changed. And with massive success came the ultimate currency of the 1980s television industry: leverage. Leverage changes people. It alters the social hierarchy of an ensemble cast. When you are struggling, everyone is equal. When you are sitting on top of a multi-million-dollar syndication goldmine, the network begins to separate the indispensable stars from the supporting players. This brings us to the pivotal incident in 1989 during the show's 6th season, the moment that Ed O'Neill points to as his greatest failure in leadership. In the pre-internet era, there was no bigger validation of a television show's cultural dominance than securing the cover of TV Guide. It was the holy grail of mainstream acceptance, and millions of physical copies sitting on the coffee tables and grocery store checkout lines of almost every single household in America. The network finally called and delivered the incredible news: A Married with Children was getting the cover. The entire cast was euphoric. They had finally made it to the mountaintop, but there was a devastating catch. The magazine executives dictated a strict rule: they only wanted the core Bundy family on the cover: Ed, Katie, Christina, and David Faustino. The neighbors, Amanda Bearse, who played Marcy, and David Garrison, who played Steve, were to be entirely excluded. Now, you have to understand the information symmetry happening here. TV Guide claimed it was a strict editorial rule, but Ed knew for a fact that they had broken this exact rule for massive ensemble shows like M*ASH and Dallas in the past. It wasn't a hard and fast law, it was a negotiation tactic. Amanda Bearse and David Garrison were absolutely heartbroken and furious. They weren't just background extras, they were integral pillars of the show's comedic rhythm. Marcy Darcy was the essential foil to Al Bundy, the civilized, progressive mirror reflecting Al's Neanderthal tendencies. Without Marcy, Al's jokes had nowhere to land. Amanda and David marched out of their dressing rooms, stood before Ed O'Neill, and made a direct, impassioned plea. They looked at the leading man, the patriarch of the set, and said, "We expect you to go to co-creator Ron Leavitt and tell him this does not work. We all go on the cover, or nobody does." This is the exact moment where careers are defined. This is the inflection point of Hollywood legacy. In the ruthless hierarchy of a network television set, the #1 name on the call sheet holds a terrifying amount of power. Ed O'Neill had the absolute authority to draw a line in the sand. He could have walked into the producer's office and utilized his irreplaceable status to protect his castmates. But he didn't. Instead of acting as the shield for his ensemble, he surrendered to fear. He looked at Amanda and David and flatly refused to help. He told them that they were lucky to even get the cover in the first place, and he wasn't going to risk the opportunity by making demands. He chose the safety of his own spotlight over the loyalty he owed to his colleagues. The psychological fallout from this single cowardly decision was catastrophic. It completely shattered the foundation of trust on the set. When the leading man demonstrates that he will abandon the supporting cast to protect his own interests, the entire dynamic rots from the inside out. Ed recently confessed on Jesse Tyler Ferguson's podcast that this is his most agonizing regret. He admitted that his failure to stand up for Amanda and David was a betrayal of the unwritten code of the actors' ensemble. You have to realize the cognitive dissonance Ed was experiencing. He was earning massive paychecks playing a character who famously didn't care about anyone but himself, and in real life, he had just acted out that exact selfish philosophy. The TV guide cover was printed, the core force smiled for the cameras, and behind the scenes, the relationship between Ed O'Neill and Amanda Bearse permanently fractured. But the story does not end there. In fact, it gets significantly darker, because untreated resentment in a professional environment eventually metastasizes into open hostility. As the seasons dragged on, Amanda Bearse began transitioning into a directing role behind the camera. She ended up directing over 30 episodes of the sitcom. Suddenly, the power dynamic shifted dramatically. The actor who had refused to defend her was now legally obligated to take creative direction from her. The friction on set became suffocating. The crew could feel the icy, unspoken tension radiating between them during every single take. Amanda has since spoken about how Ed's unhappiness toward the end of the series poisoned the atmosphere of the production, ultimately contributing to the network's decision to cancel the show unceremoniously without a proper series finale. The tragic irony is that their professional rift eventually bled entirely into their personal lives, leading to a confrontation that Ed considers the absolute lowest point of his character. Fast forward over a decade later to 2010. The show is long over, but the scars remain completely unhealed. Amanda Bearse was planning her wedding to her partner. It was a beautiful, monumental moment in her life. When the invitations were sent out to her former colleagues, Ed O'Neill and David Faustino were explicitly left off the guest list. Ed was genuinely hurt by the exclusion. Despite the years of coldness, he still harbored a strange, nostalgic affection for their shared history. When he cornered Amanda to ask why he was snubbed, her response revealed just how deeply she had conflated Ed with his television persona. She looked him in the eye and told him it was a tough call, but she honestly believed that he and David would sit in the church pews, snickering and laughing at the sight of two women walking down the aisle in tuxedos. Think about the profound insult embedded in that explanation. After years of working closely together, Amanda genuinely believed that Ed was basically Al Bundy in real life. An ignorant, homophobic caricature, incapable of respecting a sacred moment. Instead of taking a breath, acting like the mature adult, and recognizing the pain that led her to make that assumption, Ed allowed his ego to completely take over. He lashed out with a level of cruelty that still haunts him. He told her she was acting stupid. He looked at his former co-star, a woman he had shared a decade of his life with, and delivered a devastating, calculated power play. He told her, "I have a button I can push. And that button says get rid of Amanda Bearse. You do not have a button that says get rid of Ed O'Neill. Your button doesn't work. Mine works." He threatened her livelihood. He weaponized his status as the irreplaceable star of the franchise to make her feel small, powerless, and disposable. It was the ultimate narcissistic flex, a nuclear strike designed to inflict maximum psychological damage. Today, Ed freely admits that he was never actually going to push that button. He never actually wanted her fired. It was just a mean, reactionary joke fueled by his own bruised ego. But the damage was permanently sealed. He proved her right. He proved that he was exactly the arrogant, self-centered bully she feared he was. If he had just taken a moment of self-reflection, if he had simply said, "Amanda, I wish you the best, it's your wedding and your choice," he could have preserved his own dignity. Instead, he confirmed every negative bias she held against him, since the day he refused to stand up for her in 1989. This entire saga serves as a massive, glaring case study in the dynamics of Hollywood power hoarding versus collective bargaining. We can perfectly contrast Ed O'Neill's massive failure with the legendary strategy utilized by the cast of Friends. When the actors on Friends realized they were sitting on a multi-billion-dollar cultural phenomenon, David Schwimmer and Lisa Kudrow led a brilliant campaign of collective solidarity. The network tried to isolate the breakout stars, offering huge pay bumps to Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox while leaving the rest of the cast behind. The exact same tactic TV Guide used on a Married with Children. But instead of taking the bait, the cast of Friends locked arms. They refused to negotiate separately. They realized that their true power lay in their unity. If the network wanted Rachel and Monica, they had to pay for Phoebe, Chandler, Joey, and Ross. By standing together, they not only secured historic $1 million per episode contracts, but they forged a lifelong bond of mutual respect. Ed O'Neill failed this exact test of solidarity. He allowed the artificial scarcity created by a magazine cover to dictate his moral compass. When we analyze the longevity of a television legacy, we often focus exclusively on the final product beamed into our living rooms. We see the laugh tracks, the syndicated reruns, and the iconic catchphrases. But the invisible architecture holding those legacies together is entirely built on human relationships. Ed O'Neill went on to have an incredible second act in his career with A Modern Family, where he arguably applied the painful lessons he learned from his time as Al Bundy. On the set of A Modern Family, Ed was known as a generous, supportive patriarch who actively championed his massive ensemble cast. He seemed to recognize that you cannot put a price tag on a healthy, collaborative environment. The ghost of his failure with Amanda Bearse likely pushed him to be a better leader for Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Ty Burrell, and Sofia Vergara. However, the stain of that original mistake remains a permanent fixture in his retrospective narrative. It is a brilliant reminder to anyone navigating a high-stakes corporate or creative environment. The moments that truly define you are rarely the moments you're standing in the spotlight. You are defined by what you do when the spotlight threatens to exclude the people who helped you build the stage in the first place. Ed O'Neill's confession strips away the glossy veneer of Hollywood nostalgia and forces us to look at the very real, often ugly human cost of ambition. Status hoarding is a poison. When you reach the top of the mountain, your first instinct should never be to pull up the ladder behind you. As we pull back and look at the broader implications of these behind-the-scenes power struggles, it forces us to question the actual reality of our favorite childhood shows. How many other iconic sitcoms were secretly fueled by bitter resentment and unspoken betrayals? We always assume the laughter on screen reflects the reality behind the camera, but the truth is usually much darker. If you thought the tension on the Married with Children set was intense, you will not believe the absolute psychological warfare that took place during the final days of another beloved classic. The next time you watch a nostalgic rerun, remember that every smile might be hiding a knife. Click the video on your screen right now to dive into the shocking reality of what really destroyed the cast of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I will see you over there.